take that off.
No worries.
Ready? Cool. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I am Vince LeVecchia, partner and general manager at Instrument in Portland.
Cool. Tell us a little bit about what Instrument does.
So Instrument is a digital creative agency. We design and build websites, we design and build applications, we create content for the web, we do strategy projects and design for brands all over the world.
Great. How did you get to where you are? You're currently COO?
Pretty much COO. We don't have corporate titles, but I'm general manager. I was director of operations, but I changed it to general manager. I'm not sure why. I studied English, and I was a writer, and then I got into marketing at Burton Snowboards and was working in youth marketing, action sports, and I was doing some writing on the side, and then stepped out of that and I had an idea for a creative agency that was based on freelancers. So in that scenario, I had like 10 friends who were really good at what they did: design, illustration, writing, photography, but they had no idea how to sell their stuff. So I started a business where I was like the central kind of producer and they were the creative resources. Slowly that turned into Instrument. I met my partner Justin in Burlington, Vermont in 2005, and I asked him to become a partner in my business. And slowly we kind of moved out of the traditional creative and more towards the digital. He started hiring web developers, and we essentially became a web development shop in Portland in 2006, and then have come back around to bringing in the strategy and the design and the marketing elements, so it's a full service agency now.
Yeah. Tell me about that moment when you suddenly realized you're in charge of a bunch of people's lives.
I mean, this week is, I realized it a long time ago, but this week I just said to somebody yesterday, I'm actually making decisions and doing things that are going to affect about 15 people's lives, like this week. Hiring, promoting, totally changing their lives. And so I don't really know how it happened. I mean, we just have been building on this idea of creating a great agency with great people. And if you can do, like, my job is to create a great company. Justin and JD, they make the work great. And so if I can find great people, they can make the work great. You know, we can continue to grow and live in a great environment. And we've just been doing that and just chipping away at it and making decisions along the way. And when we were 4 people, I was like, man, what if we get to 8 people? And when we were 12 people, we were like, we'll never get to 40 people. And when we were 40 people, we were like, holy cow, this is huge. I don't know if we can even run a business bigger than 40 people. Like, we just didn't know. And then all of a sudden we were 80 people. And even then I'm telling people, look, I've never done this before. We're doing the best we can do. We're killing it. So yeah, it just has gotten there. But I really put it to the people that we found, the talent. It has very little to, I think it has more to do with them than us. So
Earlier you had told us that you're responsible for hiring most of the people.
Yes.
Where do you find great talent, and how do you make them part of what you created today?
So I'm in charge of the hiring, but finding those people isn't just my responsibility. So we don't have a recruiter or an HR department, and we don't use recruiters from the outside. Typically the best people come from referrals from people inside the company, and then sometimes people come through email, you know, like cold calling. But more than anything, it's more often it's people saying, hey, I know this person over here, you guys should talk. And then we bring them in and we interview them, and we feel out whether or not they're a good fit. And we look at their portfolios and their work, and they go through about 4 or 5 people. And then they come to me, and I sort of do the last piece, which is, you know, telling them about Instrument, what we're all about, what it's going to be like, and we feel out whether it's a good fit at that point. So it's not easy. It's probably the hardest part is finding the right people and then getting lucky when your hunch is correct.
Yeah.
So
obviously once they're here, there's a cultural element. I mean, not just the cheesy ping pong table culture shit, but
yeah.
Like, tell us a little bit about the culture here, and how do you manage it? Do you create it? Does it happen on its own?
I mean, you don't create culture. You basically you just create this container, and you put great people in it, and you have some values and some philosophies that you run your business by, you know, work-life balance, work smart, play hard, things like that. And the culture is kind of born out of that. And I really feel that the people around here create the culture, and they create it organically, because I can't force people to want a ping pong tournament or start a bowling team. I mean, all that's contrived if I'm doing it. So we just put great people in the room, and we've seen those people become great friends, become partners in life, get married. Not everybody's, hanging out, but a lot of people just come to like each other. So I think it's looking someone in the eye and being like, I think you're going to be a great community member at Instrument. And if that's true, then the culture is kind of created by those people.
Yeah. You told us earlier as well that you're currently building a new space. Tell me about how space plays into the creativity and the work you guys do.
Yeah, it's a good question. So over the years, we've moved into 2 or 3 different spaces, and we've kind of outgrown them pretty quickly. This building was a temporary workspace after we had a fire at a building in 2011 on the 4th of July. So we moved in here really quick, and it was out of hardship that this space was built. I mean, the teepee we're in right now was built to be like our only conference room, because we didn't have any conference rooms. And the teepee kind of has become like a symbol of the company, because we just had to come together after that fire and just get through it. And the space has now become, part of that culture. Yeah. The new building will be interesting because it's way more polished. It's all new, it's bigger, it's multiple floors. We've always had an open workspace, so we work without walls. It's kind of one of the values of the company, and I think that just breeds an honesty. There's nowhere to hide, and everybody can see what everyone else is doing, and everyone can hear and tell what's going on. So the energy in an open workspace just fuses, as opposed to these walls that might separate people and keep that energy contained. So some people get annoyed by the open workspace, because of the noise or the lack of privacy. But I think the benefits of it, in terms of the energy and the camaraderie it breeds, is far outweighed.
Yeah. So along the way, you've obviously had some hiccups. Are there any particular ones that you think, wow, that's the lesson that I wish I'd learned a long time ago?
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, we've done a lot of things right, and JD doesn't believe in luck. I believe that we've been really fortunate with some things. There's a handful of people that we've hired that were like, hey, this is going to be awesome. And then a few months later, you're like, what happened? That something just wasn't there. So I think on the hiring front, that's happened a handful of times. But I mean, I've probably hired 180 people in the history of the company, and less than 10 have kind of fallen into that category. So I feel like we've had a good track record on that level. Other hiccups, I would say maybe staying with a client too long when you know that it's not healthy for the agency. I can think of one time where we stayed with it probably a little too long, where we probably should have just said, this isn't good for us. We eventually did, but it probably went a few months too far.
That's interesting, because you normally think about it the other way around, right?
Yeah, so the one thing about Instrument is we say no first. So the trap is to say yes to everything in a creative agency, get the work in, figure it out later. With us, if you start out by saying no to sort of the mediocrity or the thing that just looks good, you really then curate all the work you do. Same goes for hiring. You just be really, really intentional about the stuff that you take on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've made some mistakes along the way, in terms of a few hires here and there that have turned out to be mistakes. I think, to be honest, we're so thoughtful and intentional about our decisions that we've been really lucky to not make those mistakes. And I think even when you make what could be a mistake, there's a way to get something out of it. There's a way to maximize the value of someone that you hire and maybe isn't working out, and we've turned those people around, and now they're totally succeeding.
Yeah.
So that's happened too.
Okay. If you could describe your leadership style in a couple of words, how would you do that?
So I think it's lead with the heart. it sounds really cheesy, but I think for me, I just want to connect with people and have an understanding. I'm sort of the people person, so if I can connect with those people and have a sense of trust with them, then there's like this bargain, right? They're coming here 8 hours a day. I'm paying them for that, but there's more to it, you know? And so if I can keep that bargain on the level and there be trust, because I always feel like we're giving plenty, we're asking for a lot back. So my leadership style is to make sure that that's in balance all the time. And if I can pass a straight face test with every employee here and have that connection with them, then, you know, I feel like I'm doing the right thing.
Do you think that they would describe you like that as well?
I think so. You know, Justin was doing an interview, my partner, and he, you know, for the first time without me saying anything, he was like, you know, Vin's the heart and soul of the company. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, that's cool. I
like
think
the spiritual leader.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I've heard that here and there. I don't contribute to projects as much as I'd like to, but in terms of running the company and putting great people in the room, I think people see me as sort of a linchpin to that. So yeah, I guess that's probably how they would describe it. But like I said, I'm also the money guy.
Yeah.
So they all have to come to me if they want to spend money on a camera, or they want more money in their salary or whatever. So it's an interesting, you know, it's an interesting dichotomy there.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to do it any other way.
Sure.
Because we have a trust level, and I can tell them honestly, like, you know what, we're not going to be able to afford that.
So being more of an ops person, do you think of yourself as a planner or as a strategic person? Do you set goals? How do you kind of focus yourself into the future?
So we definitely look at the financial goals and say, hey, we're building a building. We know we want to maintain a certain level of success and performance on the financial side, and that's going to allow us to keep reinvesting in the company. So we just have to be responsible to those numbers. Once you set those goals, then it's just about having the discipline to sort of force everybody to manage their projects and their teams to reach those goals. So we are not